And we got to start this show talking about the Los Angeles Clippers, who are in a bit of a free fall. 5-15 as we record this, coming off two brutal home losses over the weekend. They go up against Memphis on Friday. The Grizzlies, no Ja Morant. Clippers have a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, blow it, lose that game to the Grizzlies. Got worse on Saturday. They played the zombie Dallas Mavericks, a team that was without Kyrie, without AD, without Derek Lively, without Daniel Gafford. PJ Washington gets hurt during warmups.
Right.
And they lose that game to the Dallas Mavericks. Things not looking good right now with the Clippers. Where do you start with the Clippers? Because they are unquestionably the biggest disappointment. This was a playoff team last year, a team that some people thought made the right moves in the offseason to bolster their weaknesses. They're a bottom five team in terms of defense. Their offense is predictable. What's the most disappointing aspect to you about all this?
I just think that the front office, and it is made up of people I genuinely really like, and I think genuinely know basketball, and that's what's hard about having these conversations, because I don't take any of this lightly, right? You're never rooting for someone to lose their jobs, and these are people I like and I think are good, smart basketball people. Also, they have made a bunch of choices over the last 3 to 4 years that have been gambles that weren't dumb gambles. I want to make that clear. This is not like Nico Harrison trading Luka kind of decisions. These are decisions that, as you said, we all in the offseason, you and I talked about the Clippers. Oh, this could work. This could work, that kind of thing. But from the gamble of re-signing Kawhi to, and look, the smart gamble of letting PG go, right? So there's gambles all the way around, to the gambles of, oh, these older players, we're going to give them one more. We're gonna keep going with this group, and we're gonna try to supplement the gamble of getting rid of Norm Powell and saying, oh, it's gonna work to bring in Bradley Beal and the John Collins combo, that sort of thing.
All made sense on paper.
That's my point. My point is that none of these are dumb decisions, but the truth is there are a bunch of gambles in there, a bunch of them, and when this many gambles go poorly, at some point you have to start looking at, do we need to clean the decks and start again? And I asked you when this whole aspiration thing came up over the summer, was there really that much competition for Kawhi Leonard? Because even in the moment, not of aspiration, but when they re-signed him, and by the way, I sat at those playoff games where they played really well without him, where when he played, he was magnificent for the Clippers. But there's a point where you just say, we're doubling down on this guy that is hurt all of the time and is only getting more hurt. And the biggest concern, even when they made the deal, the initial deal to send Shea to OKC to bring in PG and Kawhi, you and I were at that finals with the Raptors and Golden State Warriors. And the thing that I walked out of the Toronto airport sort of feeling was, man, Kawhi Leonard is load managing within the game. I've never seen that before. I've never seen someone who, during the game, you could tell was sort of purposely taking it easy for an injury purpose until the fourth quarter and then putting it all on the line in the fourth quarter. And by the way, God bless them. They won. Toronto, amazing, amazing, amazing series for them and for the city. However, when you then go so far out of your way and give up so much to acquire that player, you are taking a gamble that he is not going to get more hurt. That would happen in San Antonio, where he was load managing in Toronto, that it wasn't going to get worse. That is a gamble. And it was a huge gamble. A gamble, as it turned out, with an MVP player that they gave away, plus picks that are haunting them to this day. And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Well, do you think that the circumstances of that draft capital played a role in doubling down on Kawhi? Because it kind of had to, because it's like with this year, there's no point to bottoming out. You bottom out, and Oklahoma City walks away with the third overall pick.
I think it is human nature to want to double down on a decision and say, no, I don't want to acknowledge this was a disaster or this is wrong, or maybe it wasn't even a disaster. It's just not working, or it's not going to continue to work, or doubling down is bad. It's the reason why you and I sat here weeks and weeks ago and I said, Dallas has to get rid of Nico because Nico's best interests are no longer the Mavericks' best interests. Nico's best interests were, this trade was the right thing to do, I'm going to prove it to you, and that wasn't what was in the Mavericks' best interest. The Mavericks' best interest is trade Anthony Davis as quickly as possible, and frankly, it should have been last season after Kyrie got hurt. I am not sure that re-signing Kawhi was in the Clippers' best interest. However, the front office, again, in a totally human way, was saying, okay, we gave up all this, we can't give up now, that sort of thing. And they were already giving up on Paul George to a degree. I think that doubling down on a player as your centerpiece whose health has been in decline for 5 years. I think that longer,
yeah.
like doubling down with players who, man, it's amazing that they have gotten what they got last season with that level of defense out of these older players and saying, no, we think they can do it when they're even older. Bringing in Chris Paul, who is older, bringing in Bradley Beal, who hadn't worked in, frankly, the last 2 places that he had been. It's a bunch of gambles, and none of them have paid off. And there may have been a point earlier along the way here where you could make a pretty strong argument, hey, man, like you're gambling enough times, and none of them are terrible, but you can't keep gambling. You have to just start over. And I think it's tough now because they clearly have to start over now. And what are you getting for who?
I think all the things, as you said, I agree with. It was a roll of the dice to think that Bradley Beal and John Collins were going to replace what Norman Powell brought, because I think Norman Powell, it's played out this way, has brings more to the table than just on the court, right? He is a leader. And, it goes back to what he said, training camp of the previous year when Paul George was gone. He's like, we're going to be fine. Like,
Absolutely.
It feels like he brought some swagger to that locker room. I think they're lacking that. Like, being around that team on Saturday and watching them over the last couple of weeks, the body language is just bad. And you watch the way they play, they're just a step slow. They're not as aggressively going after 50-50 balls like they used to. And this is not just me observing this. You go into the locker room and you hear players talk about effort and energy.
Openly.
Like, they're saying effort and energy every time. And if you're not getting the requisite effort and energy to beat teams like Memphis and Dallas, 2 teams down in their luck, down in the dumps, down the bottom of the playoffs or bottom of the Western Conference standings, how are you going to get up for some of these other teams across the league? So I think that's a real problem. And look, I don't think there's a deal to be made out there for them. I don't think there's a deal that can make them better. I wonder at this point, does Steve Ballmer make a move within his leadership? Like, Steve Ballmer is a loyal guy.
Yeah.
He's not looking to do something unless he has to. But when you're losing this way, it's not just losing. Like, if they were hyper competitive,
But leadership, who, when, and for what? Be specific.
It starts with the head coach. Like, that's where it begins.
Does it?
Look, I would not fire Ty Lue for many reasons, not the least of which is that this team, in addition to trying to win now, has 2027 on its mind. Like, they want to be a free agent destination in 2027. And Ty Lue can be part of that. Like, Ty Lue's a draw. Ty Lue is a player's coach. Ty Lue is an elite coach. In my mind, a top 5 coach in the NBA.
Agree.
Even with this nonsense. But if he's not getting through to these guys and they're not responding to him, what do you do? We just trade the calendar to December.
But do you think that's the problem? Do you think that the coach should really be giving them rah-rah speeches? Players know. There are situations where, coaches lose the locker room. No matter how good they are, they should probably go and find some other job, right? And there's an argument, by the way, that Ty Lue wouldn't be mad at being let go and finding another team with another roster,
he won a championship
right?
in Cleveland, got let go out there.
Right?
Different circumstances.
Yes,
but, yeah.
obviously. And by the way, as I said, I agree with you. I think he's a top 5 coach, and there's an argument for him in his career that he'd be better off somewhere else. That being said, I don't think you can blame the coach when everyone in the locker room knows the roster isn't going to get it done. And I think the frustration you've seen from James Harden in his post-game press conferences, he's played phenomenal this year. And unfortunately, in the last, 2-3 games, has had a ton of turnovers when he hadn't previously. And I think he is just sort of like, okay, I'm supposed to be the one who cares. I'm supposed to be the one out here like killing myself when clearly like there's not a team around me. I don't know how much.
Kind of said that in the locker room too on Saturday.
That's what I mean.
Somebody was asking him about the roster and the.
No, I'm not guessing at his mindset. I am repeating his mindset, right? And that Ty Lue, again, I have not had this conversation with him, and he has not said this in his post-game comments. But if I'm him, how many rah-rah speeches am I giving to this group? I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's the problem. I don't think changing him to some other coach is going to fix this. I do think there probably needs to be a trade and an acknowledgement. They're not going to be able to draft their draft pick. Like, I get it. They're going to have, quote, clear books for 27. That's 2 years from now, man.
Long way off.
Like, I don't think
Season and a half away.
I don't think with an arena that, and look, I mean, the owner can sustain losses. I mean, nobody could buy a ticket for any of those games until 2027, and he'd be just fine. But I don't know. I think you are really in danger of losing so much of the fan base you do have. If you're a Clippers fan, you are a loyal human, right?
Yeah.
And the thing I have heard from Clippers fans, you and I live in LA. Occasionally you'll hear, call-ins on the radio or during games or things like that. And Clippers fans will tell you over and over that they feel worse now than they have at any other point in their fandom. And these are fans who've been fans through the Donald Sterling nonsense, who've been fans through, the other lows that this team has had. And I think there's been some stats about how this team is performing worse than they have since the pre-Blake Griffin era. And I mean, they have the 8th worst record in the league. Like, I just think, I don't know if you can hold this for the next year and a half and move deck chairs around, or have you to say, great, does anyone want Kawhi Leonard? Because regardless of what goes on with aspiration, like, the new franchise isn't getting tagged with that. And Kawhi Leonard, by the way, I don't think can be penalized. I mean, my understanding of how these penalties could possibly
I don't
work.
think he can be
Right.
penalized. I think the one scenario is the contract gets voided, but I don't think that's on the table at the moment.
I'm not sure anybody would be sad about that.
I was gonna say, who complains about that? I
Right.
don't know.
So, maybe there's value for him there. James Harden is clearly showing right now he can still play. I mean, you're not going to get for him what you would have at different points in his career. I just wonder if...
But in that scenario, do you just acknowledge that Oklahoma City is going to get a great draft pick?
Oh, as opposed to now?
All right. I don't have an answer here because, look, I think Lawrence Frank and his staff are excellent. I think Ty
That's
Lue
my point. These
is
are good,
an excellent
smart
coach.
people.
And look, in hindsight, it looks awful to give up the potential 2-time MVP and 8 draft picks for Kawhi Leonard. But going back in time, everybody would have done it. To get Kawhi coming off the 2019 season, you don't think so? I think
it was... I don't think it's an everyone would have done it. That's a sure thing.
a lot of teams would have done it.
I think a lot of teams would have done it.
to get-
I think it was a gamble.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it was a dumb gamble.
Yeah.
It was a gamble. And if you gamble and gamble and gamble and gamble, Chris, you
As a
spend time
gambler?
in Las Vegas.
As
you
an
are
addictive
going
gambler,
to, you
yes.
are going to lose some of the
Yes.
time,
I know what
if
you're
not
talking about. I win all
more.
the time.
I mean, it's funny. I would like to just take this moment since you brought it up. Can we go over the Oklahoma City Thunder's potential picks in the
that's
next
not-
draft?
ugh, that's going to make some people around the NBA shiver.
It's 4 potential first-round picks. Is that right?
4 potential first. I think the Utah one may wind up being in Utah's pocket. Though.
Because
Yes.
it's what, top
Top
8
8
protected?
protected,
So, right. So 3
Yeah.
in what's considered one of the greatest drafts
Yes.
in 20 years.
Yes.
And right. So it's funny, as we talk around the league and other teams in the West, and it's like, oh, should we go for it right now? Right? Should the Lakers, we're going to talk about the Lakers, should the Lakers try to make a move right now? There is an argument that, as unlikely as it seems, this is your best chance. This year in the West
Yeah.
is your best chance because that Oklahoma City team is poised to become a dynasty on the level we haven't seen since Golden State.
Yeah. There's not a solution right now other than these guys getting it, like it clicking. And look, I think their roster deficiencies are real, but I think more than anything, the effort and energy, it's not there. You've got to match the effort every single night. I think Ty Lue can do some things offensively to mix things up. Like after the game against Dallas, like they're when I was looking up their offense, like their isolation frequency is really high. Like they are an isolation heavy team. Like only them and the Rockets are above 10% of their plays being run in isolation. And you can have great isolation players, and they do. Harden's one of the best. Kawhi can still get it done. But if you run isolation over and over again, teams are going to figure it out. And that's where the turnovers come in, and they don't get back. Like they commit a turnover, it's an automatic bucket on the other end of the floor. A live ball turnover in Los Angeles is an automatic bucket the other way. This is something that Ty talks about all the time.
Great.
It's a big problem the way they function offensively.
So if you were the coach, if they fire Ty and they bring you in at your suggestion,
I would not suggest me for that job, that's for sure. No.
what would you say to these guys with this talent who are not blind and can look around the
I don't
locker
think
room?
I'm coming around to your idea of like just making some trades and keeping
Right?
Ty around and figuring it out.
Right?
Like see what's out there. I'm not sure what the market is for James Harden at this point because, I mean, there wasn't really a market for him in free agency. You know, if we're real about it. Like
There wasn't a market at the salary that he
Right.
wanted, and the Clippers at that point were aiming towards something where they thought they needed him, and so they were willing to pay him significant money where other teams weren't, and that's the market. Obviously, the market changes if the goals change or the kind of team he's joining changes.
He's
don't know.
a very specific team guy. Like, you got to put him on a team he's not really a plug and play kind of guy.
He's not, but I mean, he's
Great
been very
scorer.
good here
Yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And he's been very good not only on the court, but off the court. And I am not excusing past behavior in other cities by any extent. But people change as they get older, and he has stuck it out and keeps plugging in a situation where a lot of people would off the court start pounding. And maybe it's worth a gamble for another team. I'm not trying to break up the Clippers, but I'm not sure what's worth salvaging here right now with the way things have gone. And you and I know that even though whatever they come up with is not going to be a title contender, maybe there is some combination of just scrappy enough, just new enough, just new roster put together, a new locker room enough. And Ty Lue, I think, is an excellent, not just players coach, but X&O coach. And with some new tools in his tool belt, I just, at least a team that fans want to come see and don't feel bad about. Because you and I talk all the time on this podcast that, to me, the fan experience is just as important as, are we going to win the title this year? Because one team is going to win the title this year. And if your fans can feel good about being fans of your basketball team, this is an entertainment league that is literally the ball game. And it's great if you can win. But how many teams do you think are even in contention to win? One? Maybe three?
3, 4 at
Right.
the most.
Right.
You know, I was talking to somebody recently about the Clippers, and this person compared how they're playing this year to what we saw in Phoenix last year.
Yes.
And you can see kind of the comps, right? Where you've got an older team, a lot of guys used to playing individual basketball, a head coach, an experienced head coach that's trying a whole bunch of different things, but nothing's really working to get them together. Didn't end well in Phoenix, and I don't think it's going to end well with the Clippers either.
I think that this good front office, which I think they are, and this good coach need to have a different roster.
Yeah.
And that it's not going to be a better roster necessarily in terms of a more title contending roster, but I do think it could provide a better, scrappier team that is willing to listen, that makes Clippers fans feel like it's worth buying a ticket to the game, or even being given a free ticket to the game and going, which some people don't feel like in LA is worth it right now. And that's better.
Yeah.
It's better than what's happening now.
Yeah.
8th worst record in the league.